I'm glad you're coming around. How you doing?
Anxiety attacks, no sleep, depression, hitting all the cliches. Sometimes it just feels like
You're getting lost up there.
It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay.
Miss Andrews, are you okay?
definitely not.
Fucking spiel.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Bomb Squad. We have another special edition. We have another empty space edition version of the Bomb Squad. We have the star of the hit Tubi movie Borderland and
Yeah,
the new star of Empty Space. The new, also,
right.
well, not Tubi yet. You can buy or rent it right now. Google Play, Amazon, anywhere, Vudu. Anywhere you can rent stuff, you can rent it now. So go check it out. We have comedian, actor, soon to be father, Joe Sinclitico. Welcome to the Bomb Squad, Joe.
Guys, just so great, dude. And my pussy is wide open.
Yeah. This episode is not getting monetized anytime.
What is monetize? What does that mean, dude? You're trying
Like
to sell out?
yeah, of course, bro. What do you think I've been doing this whole time? This is all an ad. We don't make episodes unless we can advertise something. Like
Hey,
Borderland on
what are those
Tubi.
movie posters you got in your back in the background?
I got it's like the most dude bro movie because I have Apocalypse
It's like
Now.
Fast and the Furious,
Yeah, Apocalypse
Apocalypse
Now,
Now,
Blood in, Blood
Scarface.
Out, American Me. That one scene from 22 Jump Street where they're pretending to be Mexicans.
American
Scarface.
Me, is that the one
It's with Edward James
where
Olmos.
Edward and they shove the Christmas tree knife up the dude's ass? Remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So Joe, how are you? How's it going?
Dude, just enjoying this day when fucking Jesus came out. Like, this is the day when we killed him, we beat him to death, and we put him on a cross, and then he came back. Yeah, dude. So I'm just we're sous videing some tri-tip, and
Nice.
then
I don't know what that means.
we're gonna do some fucking Easter
Your
dinner in a little bit.
Easter dinner is that I mean I'm Mexican, so we celebrate at like 6 in the morning. So I
What?
don't, well, I mean you go to church
You guys are
super
actually
early.
probably like, yeah,
Yeah,
like dialed in with Jesus.
we
Like,
gotta
there's
like
no
yeah.
Jesus really involved. This is more a celebration of the Easter Bunny than
It's
any
celebration
Jesus.
of candies.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
a. I mean, at this point, like most families that are not Christian at all, but they still celebrate all the Christian holidays. Like,
yeah,
can we just
Mhm.
celebrate all of the holidays?
yeah, exactly. It's kind of
Like, I
like
could
how
do Passover. Like, why can't I do
yeah,
Passover?
yeah. I like latkes.
I guess aren't there a lot of rules for like I
Or
don't want
like
to like
I still
rule the
celebrate the 4th of
holiday.
July despite being a communist on twitter.com.
Yeah.
So take that. So me and
What?
Joe met. I liked, speaking of podcasts, I met Joe through, well, I listened to him on the podcast and then I reached out to him because we had this movie called Borderland that we wanted to film. And I don't know why, because if you see Joe, and I'll put a picture of Joe, how he looks right now and how he looks in the movie, they're very different. But I had this idea, like if you gave him like a big bushy mustache, then
Yeah.
he would look, and you slick back his hair, he would look like a criminal. And for some reason, Joe, why did you agree to do the movie?
Why
It
did
seemed
I agree
beneath
to do that
you.
movie?
Yeah.
Dude, because you were like, just, I mean, it just seemed cool, dude. You were like, yeah, like, I'm gonna do this movie and fucking, I mean, fuck, I just thought it seemed fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. And
Yeah.
we shot all night, which made it like kind of
Weird.
horrible, but
Yeah.
also it's like weird and like fun and like just like very, it was just, it made it challenging, but it made it also sort of
Kind of
like
manic, a bit of a manic
yeah, it was just,
situation.
it just
Yeah.
felt like you shouldn't be doing anything, and we were going around El Paso at night, and
Yeah.
but you told me El Paso is like the safest fucking city, right?
Yeah, well, it still is, except for one incident 3 years ago. Well, and it was like because when we were filming Borderland, yeah, we filmed it. I mean, we didn't have money to fake night, so we just filmed it at night. We filmed it at locations that we could find, and it was like me, Josh,
Yeah,
Joe, Vale, and like Mark, just going
yeah,
from place to place. Like we had such a small crew, and we had such a big cast that like every day the cast outnumbered the crew. But I
yeah,
don't know. It felt like summer camp in a way because like you really had to get to know everyone
yeah, dude.
and like put up with each other.
Yeah, no, we were having fun. We were
Yeah.
having a lot of fun for
Right.
sure. And um yeah, dude, and you were like, you were cool. You flew me out. You paid me money, which always was like fucking cool. I was like, dude, like how I'm not saying no to this. This seems like a fucking radical deal. And yeah, man, it was so much fun. And then it was like also like I just remember like your mom or your fucking grandma or like somebody was always like cooking the meals every
Yeah.
night, and it was like enchiladas and fucking tacos, and
That was
it was
good.
just
Yeah.
always like bomb food like every night. I loved that part. And breakfast too. There was a breakfast one point, or maybe that was Empty
Yeah.
Space that we, because we shot a lot at your grandma's house for Empty
Yeah, my
Space.
grandma's was at Empty Space. Well, and see, and that was the thing because the reason that I had reached out for you for Borderland was because we hadn't made anything in like 4 years, and so we wanted to make something. And I had an idea for you to play the character of, at the time his name was Brad, in the Empty Space. So my thought process was like, well, if we get Joe down here and work with him on Borderland, we can see how cool he is, and if he's cool, we can bring him back for the Empty Space, and if he's not cool, then we can bounce him.
Yeah,
But
and
then, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, like, it's, I had taken acting lessons and all this shit,
Mhm.
but like I hadn't really done anything like that where it was like you're playing an arc of a character and they're going through some sort of transition, and it was so much harder than I thought.
Right.
And I didn't I didn't really know how to do it. I feel like either time, but I feel like I got a little bit better on Empty Space, but um yeah, but it was like I just learned so much about acting doing those movies, which is a shit way to learn acting on somebody else's movie.
Yeah.
That's how Bruce
It's like
Campbell did it. You know,
you probably want to learn it before you go do somebody's movie, but that's the fucking what happened.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then like, cause then once we got you off of that movie and we like released it, it
But
did
like,
really
well,
good.
and to be fair, like the other people, the female, my female co-stars that you had booked, they didn't know fuck all. I mean, hadn't done shit, so they were really fucking
Yeah.
winging it, dude. But they did great, and because you did, it is like they say, it's like so much is in the casting process, right? Like
Right.
if you cast the right
Right.
person, they can kind of play that. You find the right person for it, so you did a good job with that. Do
Yeah.
you ever hear from Vale?
I heard from her mom not too long ago.
That's
Because
weird.
she's like completely gone off the grid. She like doesn't even
Oh,
have social media. And like when we met Vale, she was like super online girl. Like she had a Tumblr that was
Yeah,
successful. She
dude, she
had
was
like 50.
banking it
Yeah. She was
too.
like
yeah.
I
making
remember, like,
money. Yeah.
dude, she was making like a grip of money just fucking selling pictures and doing that like camp and shit.
And not
Like
like
she, She had an
Not like
amazing
those
thing
type
going.
of pictures, like pictures that she took.
Yeah, like
her-
photography.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, not a fucking OnlyFans. No, it was like her draw. It was her
Well,
drawings.
you know, you never know these
I mean,
days.
both of those are good.
They're all
decisions, but
valid
it's just-
careers.
It is harder. It is harder to get money for pictures that you took as opposed to
Oh, yeah.
pictures that you are.
I mean, she
Right.
was like, she was really kind of like a rock star. I
Yeah.
felt to a lot of these women that followed her. They really
Yeah.
were like thought she was dope.
Well, I
and
still
cool.
get
and she
messages.
is dope, and she is
Yeah.
fucking cool.
I still get messages of people being like, "Oh yeah, have you? Oh, you worked with Vale?" And like they like are super into it. So
Yeah,
good for her. Hopefully, wherever she is, she's doing good. I talked to her mom, and she said she's doing fine. But yeah, she's not online anymore. So she's disappeared into the Matrix.
interesting.
And then we worked on The Empty Space, and we'll see. And when we're releasing this, The Empty Space has been out for a week, and so we're not going to get too spoilerly. But Joe's role is probably one of the hardest roles. Like him and Val just have real hard roles, just because there's so much going on with how much horror and like
Emotionally and
changes, that they're having to do. Joe, without spoiling anything, how did you like approach this character of Noah?
You know, I think it always helps for somebody like in my shoes where I'm not motherfucking Daniel Day-Lewis and I'm not gonna just like transform, that you really kind of just rely on like, okay, how would I play this? Like, what would I feel in this scene? You know, and try to get close to what you feel the character is, and then also just relying on you as the director to kind of be like, not that, a little bit more, maybe a little bit more this, maybe a little less that, and it really, I mean, it really makes a huge difference, you know.
Right.
And it's like too, there was the thing that I remember was like there were like takes that I thought were really good that you probably ended up maybe not using because it was like maybe the camera looked better on the other thing. It's like I'm only focused on my performance, right?
Right.
So it's like some of the takes you would use, I go, well, that wasn't the fucking one where I really nailed it. But it, like, to you, you're like, well, the framing and the this and the that. So it is like, you kind of have to really just give over any like control over whether or not how this is going to come off. Cause it's really in the director's hands, you know?
Yeah. Well, and
Josh, where the fuck were you on Empty Space, bro?
I was there for like I was there. You know what? You left like 2 days before I got there because I was only there half the time because I had a real job, so I couldn't just take like all that time.
Was your real job?
I'm not gonna get into my real job on the podcast.
Yeah, can you talk about coworkers?
Someone's gonna
Josh, what's
listen.
your social security number? Then?
Someone's gonna listen to my Conan take and get so mad that they dox me and try to get me fired.
I just remember we used to have to like, one of my favorite memories was because we would use you to like check audio and shit, so you would like read lines,
the worst.
or I would do lines with you, and you were the worst line reader. Like, maybe that's ever. You'd be like, "Hello, yes, I am," and it was just fucking hilarious.
I should clarify. I hate working on film sets. It's the worst.
I should clarify also that I think it's funny whenever Josh has to read lines because you're always like, nobody could read lines as bad as Josh does.
Yeah,
like, he's doing
it was like
sarcastically.
magically bad. It was so fucking goddamn funny.
I was in theater in high school, and it's like, how did I get worse from like high school theater to now?
Yeah, but because you were like, you were always like, you were always like tired and kind of defeated because you had been doing it for so long that you were like, all right, bye, and you were just kind of going along with it. It was just hilarious. I wish you could find. I think I might have a clip. Maybe I could find it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Of Josh.
There's definitely photos of me looking like I'm contemplating killing myself on the set. So
yeah.
Well, and I will say, without getting too spoilery, there is like some scenes in The Empty Space where Joe, and there's it's almost like the opposite of the scene in Borderland, where in Borderland there's like a threat behind some of the lines that the character says when he has to threaten someone, and in the Empty Space, it's a little bit different in that the threat comes from the fact that he's not showing any emotion whatsoever, and it's like, where is this person behind that should be there, and that's a hard role to do. Like, even if you're like, I don't care how experienced you are, it's just a hard role because the whole part of acting is like, how emotional can you be? Like, how can you fit this emotion into this frame? And then when you're like, oh, you need to take out all the emotion, but there has to be some kind of resonance with the lines. And so Joe did a great job of like figuring out how to like be threatening without going over the top, because this character could have easily been too crazy and that would not work.
Too Joker-esque. You don't want to go full Joker,
All my
No.
characters could be the Joker.
dancing
But
on the
also,
stairs and whatnot.
another thing is we brought Rachel Olsen, who at the time was your girlfriend and now she's your wife. How did
Yeah.
it feel working with her?
Did I have any scenes with her?
You have
I don't think so.
no. The only thing the closest you get is you have that scene where you're inside the house and she's outside the house, and we had to bring Rachel in for one day to shoot that one scene. And then
I thought
send
she
her
did.
back
I
down.
thought she did great though. She
No,
did
she
much
did
better.
Oh
than
yeah,
I
she's
did.
really good. Yeah.
Well, she
Yeah,
and
she,
like,
she was much better than I was at it. But she had been doing acting lessons and she had been doing like serious drama stuff. And I was a comedian,
right.
so it was like, if you had me doing comedy shit, I mean, I know that language, I know that rhythm, but drama, especially, this like lead, and it's challenging, and it's like you want to give it, you want to pack a wallop, right?
Right.
You want to give some emotion, but how do you do that without turning it to fucking ham and cheese town?
right.
And a lot of it is like, I think there's something with actors where it's their voice just has a lot of gravitas. I'm a big believer that it's not so much the way actors look, but their voices. If you really
Mhm.
pay attention to like the best, longest lasting actors, they all have incredible voices. And unique voices, and it really, I think that lends like something amazing to the, where I'm kind of like I kind of have a San Diego Cali surf bro,
Right.
so when I say stuff that's like dead serious, people are like, I don't know if I buy that.
Yeah. Well, and it's
See it.
it's funny, especially with Rachel, because we were able to hone in on her character like before we even started shooting, and she got that character so well that like I never really had any notes for her, which I think might be frustrating because you're like, you always want to be able to try it a different way, but like she knew
Mhm.
how to hit the beats and how to hit the pauses, and so
Yeah,
it was just like,
yeah,
you know,
she was much more of a pro than I was.
Yeah.
Like, she knows how to do all that.
right. And we wanted characters that felt like, I would say that the big three leads are you three, just because her character, and it's not in the script, she doesn't have as big a presence, but she just brings the presence to it. And so you feel for this character who could have easily been like, she's essentially just like the funny sidekick, but Rachel manages to elevate that material and Joe manages to work a little bit more. And so it's a lot, it was a lot of fun being able to work with both of them. And next time we got to get them in a scene together so they don't constantly miss each other in lines.
I think maybe we were in a party scene together when I show up at the surprise party. Was she at that?
No, she hasn't met the character yet. No,
Yeah.
It's a
I don't
flashback.
think.
Yeah.
I think that the closest she gets is like, she's always in the peripheral. She's very much like that character in Get Out who like works at
Oh
the
yeah, when she
TSA.
comes to the house to check
Mhm.
on her.
Right. You have to like
And
pretend
we put
you're
her
not
in
there.
the El Paso shirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which
What'd
I
you
also
say?
got Joe. I put her in that El Paso shirt that I also
Oh,
got
yeah.
you. Yeah. We had
Dude,
to
I love that.
represent. Yeah. But so yeah, I think when you watch Empty Space, you'll get to see a little bit of Joe and a little bit of Rachel's talents, and you get to see how well these characters kind of work all together. And it's funny to watch it. There's like a scene at the end where we do a flashback to before everything. It's like a quick, just real quick images of like Valerie as Amy Andrews, and then Joe as Noah, the boyfriend, when they're like laughing and they're fighting. That's always like my favorite part of the whole movie because in like there's not a lot of dialogue and there's no real complete shots. It's just vignettes real fast, but you see so much of their characteristics, and it like to me it ties the whole movie together to see kind of how the character was before all the events of the movie. And I think like I don't think that would have worked with someone who's not naturally like a comedian and has that
Yeah.
kind of ability to immediately jump in and like get the crowd happy and excited, you know.
What was that fucking line I had? Wild faces or some shit.
Oh no, it was grand gestures.
Grand gestures. I could not
Yeah.
fucking say that line.
But that scene comes off so good. It's so chaotic because
Grand gestures.
we went off of we did the
Rachel sometimes teased me. She
Steadicam?
just fucking said that to me. Grand gestures.
it's the best line. It's the
I mean,
it's
it
the
took me
type of
forever. I know. I had to
It's-
say it like
it's
85.
acting, you know.
fucking-
yeah.
I had
Well,
to say
that
it like
was-
100 times to get it
Yeah.
sound even remotely real.
And the hard thing about independent films is that we don't get a chance to be like, oh, we'll shoot this on reshoots. It's like we have to do everything in one shot. And
Yeah.
people have real jobs that they have to go back to, and so we really go for it. Like a day that should be like that party scene. I think it ended up being like a 14-hour day just because we had to shoot all of the party scene. It's like the biggest scene. It involves some of the climax, it involves some of the beginning. And so there's so much in that part that there's no way to fit that. Like we had to, and we were rushing, and it still took like 16 hours. So that's the reality of welcome to independent film, guys. Yeah.
Dude, hey, is your Wi-Fi up your asshole?
No,
It just looks looks so slow and blurry.
You know what?
Oh,
Like it looks
it'll look
that
slow.
way.
Yeah.
They'll all be clean on the recording.
Mhm.
We figured that
Really?
out. We figured that out later because I was like, "You look and sound like shit," and then later I was like, "Oh no, he looks perfectly fine." Like when it's
Oh well,
edited,
that's
but-
part of what Zencaster does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like
So, and
individual
that's-
recordings.
It's
yeah.
it's like recording each one individual.
Yeah, and that's why we
Yeah.
like it because we
Oh,
tried
that
it on
is dope.
Zoom and on something else, and he would record them all together. So like if Josh was like lower, there was no way for me to raise it without like going into
Yeah.
each individual time he talks, and I'm not gonna do that shit. And also, even like afterwards, if it messes up, it'll record on your side so that if we have to, you can record it and then send it to me. But yeah. And speaking
Got
of
it.
that, now guys, go watch The Empty Space. It's out now. Go rent it or buy it. Buy it preferably. But now to the real meat of this episode. Joe picked a movie. And
Yeah.
as he yawns, he picked
My favorite movie of all time, dude.
he picked
Is
which
it?
if you've seen his wedding card, you would know that already. But Joe picked 1982's Conan the Barbarian, directed by John Milius, written by John Milius and Oliver Stone, who set it in the future. And it stars Arnold Schwarzenegger. It stars James Earl Jones. It stars Max van Schneiden. And
You mean when Oliver Stone wrote it, he wrote it in the future?
Yeah, he originally said it after the fall of civilization for no real reason, and then John Milius was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that." And then,
But it's
Well, because
based-
that's not what the like actual Conan.
I was
books
gonna
are.
say it's based on a
Yeah.
comic that's set in like ancient Mesopotamia or whatever. And so
yeah,
you're saying
There's not-
Oliver Stone's a weirdo?
who would have thought that? Yeah, see, and that's what. And it
Oh,
was
he's got to
funny,
put
like-
their spin on it, huh?
You-
They
You're
fucking-
saying
it's like,
coked up 80s Oliver Stone was just fucking spitball in it?
See, look,
dude,
Stone set the story in the future after the downfall of civilization. It was
What
to
a
be a
shitty
4-hour
take.
saga and had a whole host of creatures. And it's like John Milius ended up rewriting much of Stone's script. John Milius was
dude,
like,
did you watch the Milius documentary?
I haven't. I've only seen him in interviews.
Oh fuck,
other
you gotta
than that.
watch it, dude.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot about Conan,
Oh, really?
and yeah, there's a lot about Conan, and it's really fascinating. I mean, not only am I a fan of Conan, but I'm not really as much a fan of the novels, but I'm a big fan of the Frank Frazetta, who
Oh,
did
The
a lot of the
paintings,
art.
the
Yeah, the
Yeah.
paintings,
The
and shit
savage
like
sword
that.
of Conan. Yeah.
Yes, and just his like sort of fantasy art in general is really fucking badass. that like heavy metal fucking Fire and Ice. Did you ever see Fire and Ice?
Yeah, I have. It's super cool.
Yeah.
It looks
Super
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I love all that shit.
My favorite thing about John Millis is like in Hearts of Darkness, about the making of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
He like originally he had this separate ending where Marlon Brando's character and Martin Sheen's character like stand on the roof of that temple. That
Oh
they're
yeah,
in,
like
and
fighting off the Viet
they
Cong.
like shoot down like 4 Viet Cong helicopters. And like it comes to Coppola and he's like, there's no way we would have shot that's the dumbest ending. And then it cuts to John Millis and he's like reading it from the script and he starts crying because he loves it so much.
It was like
And it's the dumbest ending.
it was like the machine guns were emptying their like full balls. Like it was like that kind of script. It's like, come on, man.
See, but I
Dude,
like
that's
that they just went for it back in the day. Like getting Conan the Barbarian and setting it in the future is so dumb that you have to almost appreciate it. Especially now. I think
But
that's why-
Milius was like the perfect guy to make no other director, because he was like such a fucking like Hemingway guy's guy type of director, you know, like big smoke, like cigar chomping, like fucking, tough guy, badass dude. And then you had the fucking, is Basil Polydorus is the score
producer?
is the guy that did
Oh,
the
the
fantastic score, boom 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 boom, boom which is fucking amazing. And then it's like you have Schwarzenegger, who nobody knew who he was, and nobody knew he would be one of the biggest movie stars that's ever fucking lived.
Right.
He has this epic charisma, and here he is like playing this and a physicality that's like nobody will ever have. Even The Rock wasn't as fucking jacked as fucking
I
Arnold.
do think
It's
like
just, you could never remake that movie, right?
Like
You're never gonna find
could anyone like
No.
be that character other than him? I don't think
don't-
so. Like I don't think it would have
don't
worked. I never
think
saw
so.
the remake.
No, dude. And he also, his accent, right?
Yeah.
Which makes him sound like foreign, and like it's just this like perfect symphony of like all the right ingredients that just came together, and just a fucking just absolute badass fantasy, script. And there's just so many cool, the writing is fucking cool, the the War Masters and all that shit, and the Wheel of Pain. It's when that's how Conan gets jacked, right?
Yeah.
He just pushes the Wheel of Pain, and you're like, what the fuck is the Wheel of Pain? Is the Wheel of Pain?
I was
What
like,
is it,
I was
like-
like, are they grinding like flour? Or is it just to fuck
is it
with
grinding
them?
flour, or is it just like you just put these kids on the Wheel of Pain, and one motherfucker will eventually rise up and just be on the Wheel of Pain, and you go, that's my motherfucker. Send that dude to the War Masters in the fucking East to be trained. And then he was bred to the finest stock. He's like, they like bred him.
I was gonna say
women,
you wouldn't have a movie like a modern movie where like the hero's like having sex with sex slaves and they both like it,
Yes.
like that wouldn't happen in a Marvel film,
No, never.
Yeah.
No.
And
Yeah.
the whole time I was watching it, it did kind of like you keep thinking of how blockbusters and kind of these big movies are. Even Game of Thrones, like how they're watched today, and it's like there's no way. The cool thing about Conan the Barbarian is that everyone is taking it seriously. Like there are jokes in it, but the jokes are in the world. Like there's that scene where Conan gets drunk and he's like laughing at a camel, and then he knocks another camel in the face, and it's like that's funny because that's like Conan is drunk and he's fucking shit up. That's like a funny thing to happen. It's not a wink to the audience, and it's like
right.
The whole movie is like it, and like Arnold, like you were saying, it's kind of like Arnold literally looks like he walked off of the cover of Conan the Barbarian to like start acting. He looks like the character from those paintings and those covers.
Yeah.
It really is. It really it's all you know what, like I really like too, and I didn't really notice this till I watched it because I haven't seen it in like over 10 years. It's like structured not like a modern like blockbuster, but like kind of like an ancient poem. Like if it was like a modern movie, he wouldn't. He would have to like kill his slave master and be like, "Oh, that was my first." It's like no, he lets him go. Like it's like
no, there's like a lot of acts to it.
He saw, like it'll be like 20 minutes without anyone having any dialogue. You're just seeing
Yeah.
like what he's going through, you
Well,
know.
and it is cool. Like we reviewed the Chronicles of Riddick, the Vin Diesel movie, and like that movie, it's trying to be this epicness, but it doesn't. Like it never feels connected. It feels like a lot of little vignettes. And Conan, despite the fact that it's also a lot of vignettes, it feels connected the whole time. Like, oh,
Yeah.
he starts in the tribe, and you see him with his dad, and then James Earl Jones comes and kills him, and they take him to the Wheel of Death. Then he gets buff enough from the Wheel of Death that they take him to the gladiator fights. He becomes a gladiator. He gets so good that they let him go, so he wants revenge, and then he kind of goes out on his own. He meets people. He's looking for the snake of Tulsa Doom, which is James Earl Jones's tribe. He finds another snake, and then they go there, and they like. It feels like you're living with someone as opposed to like, oh, we need to get from this part to this part. Or like, oh, this would be cool. Nothing ever feels like, oh, this will be cool. It just feels like, yeah, in this town there's a giant snake that Conan has to kill.
Yeah, like
And,
this
like,
is
that's
what
just what
happened
happened.
next.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And then there's like they don't go too heavy on the fantasy shit.
Mhm.
Like there's the witch in the beginning. Fucking James Earl Jones turns into a snake at one point.
Right.
He's definitely using some sort of spell on his followers. The
Mhm.
cult, they made the cult really creepy. Like they did a
Right.
fucking killer job of like just feeling like, God, this is so scary and like creepy. When he's like, come to me, child, come to me,
Yeah.
and she fucking jumps off that motherfucking thing.
Yeah.
That's
And he
did-
does it just to prove that he can
bad.
do it. Yeah.
I did forget that he gay seduces a priest to steal his clothes.
Yeah.
He honeypot traps him.
And he does it he's like, let's go over there where nobody can.
Yeah, he's
see
like,
us."
I'm
Yeah.
shy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
Well,
funny.
Yeah.
and see, I even like James Earl Jones. Well, like when you talk about Conan, a lot of people talk about Arnold, but James Earl Jones is so good. Like he has that line where Conan reveals that he killed his family, and James Earl Jones is like, "Oh, that must have been before when I was like trying to get metal or something. Who cares?" And it's like he's
Yeah.
literally like whatevering Conan's entire life mission. Like to him,
Yeah.
none of these people mean anything. Like not his followers, not Conan. There's no threats to someone with that immense power, and I think like James Earl Jones plays it in such a good way, and he's so like he never really raises his voice until the end, and it's just like he's just threatening the whole time, much like Joe's character in Empty Space. It's that
Yeah.
same kind of like it's the fact that there's nothing there that makes it scary, as opposed to like him yelling or like screaming at people. It's like the fact that he'll just let someone die just to show Conan that he can do it is terrifying, you know.
Yeah, well, and the fact that like there's something in his gaze, right,
Mhm.
that is like hypnotizing these people,
Right.
and I also just felt like they really like as far as like world building, back
Yeah.
then, like they just did this fucking great job. Like they really nailed it. Like I said, like just enough fantasy,
Yeah, they like hint
not
at stuff.
too much.
Yeah.
Like and then the religions, right? Like I love that when he's sitting there with the surfer guy that Milius is a big
Subutai.
surfer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there and he's like, talking about their God. He goes, my God is the sky.
Right.
Your God lives beneath it. They're like arguing about their gods.
Right.
And then Conan gives him that great look as he's eating the turkey leg. He's like, shit, this motherfucker's got a point. That's
right. Yeah.
damn, that's
Yeah.
fucking heavy, dude. Like my God does live beneath him. Like
Yeah.
There is a very like I like that because it's Crom, right? His god is Crom, and
yeah.
he believes in him, but he's also kind of like whatever. Like he's like, you know,
Right.
I hope it works out, but fuck off if it doesn't. Like he doesn't respect his god. He's
Yeah. Well, and he has because he has that line when he's talking to the surfer guy, and he's like, "Oh, I pray to Crumb, but I don't know if he listens to me." And then he has that great monologue, which is one of the best monologues ever, where he's praised to Crumb at the final battle, and he basically he tells him like, "Oh, if you don't listen to this prayer, then to hell with you." Like it's just such a good empowering moment for Conan, because like Conan has always been under the leash of someone else, like slave master, this fight for mortality and the fight for revenge and how it cripples you and stuff. And so him being able to like do it on his own is like such a good weird character arc for Conan. And also I like that it ends like it's like, oh, how does his character arc end? With him chopping off people's heads left and right.
Yeah. Well, I think I think it was, there was a level of gore in that movie that like probably didn't make it into a lot of like sword and sandals type shit before.
Right.
Like it was mostly just like horror stuff. And now all of a sudden, he's fucking chopping people's heads off. They're getting impaled on shit. And, dude, and then there's just like great sequences like the fucking orgy Satan,
Right.
and then there's that
Right.
beautiful like that score again, like that they're playing that song and
the love score,
and they're like all fucking painted up like fucking like ninjas and I mean, and the costuming was great, and she's fucking awesome, right? Like she's so
Valeria.
Yeah, she's just a fucking Valkyrie, like this badass Norwegian looking chick.
One of my favorite parts is like, so they're gonna go steal because they find out there's a big snake, but they don't know if it belongs to Chrome. But then they also find out there's a big jewel in it, so they're like, who cares? Let's just go take that jewel. And so they go down to the jewel, and like Conan and Submatai are going down to like steal it, and Valeria is gonna stay up and like kind of like be the lookout, and she's dressed as like one of the cult members. And then when they're running away, the main like one of the bad guys like points a sword at Conan, and then she points a knife because like that's what she would do in that situation. And they all look at her because like the concubine slave isn't supposed to own a knife, and then she like hangs someone and throws them off. There's a lot of like Home Alone style deaths in this movie. She like hangs someone and throws them off, and then she rides the rope up the rafters to escape. It's such a cool sequence.
I do enjoy that. I do feel like because they do like you would not expect like they fight the giant snake. It's like that snake looks great. That looks better than most CGI in movies today.
Right.
And that was just a giant puppet. You know what I mean? Like.
Right.
Like it'll surprise you with how good the movie like looks overall, like with like all the little like magic stuff like that, It was
well, and it's also cool like how good like because you have Mako playing the wizard, you have Max van Stryden for like one scene, and he does such a good job where and it's like you think of Conan again, you think of Arnold, but the supporting cast like Valeria, Sato, the wizard, like they're all so good, and like they all have a big part. Like Submatai being at the end is something that you wouldn't see anymore because you would have Conan by himself doing it, but he's still there. And it's like funny because Conan is like killing people left and right with his sword, and then Submatai and the wizard are like having Tom and Jerry style hijinks in the back where like the wizard falls because his armor's too big and they have to like pick him up.
Yeah.
And like it's just, and again, like none of it's making fun of the movie. It's all like it's funny because the wizard obviously like picked too much armor because he's always scared of dying. And so it works for his character, and it's just like a funny thing that happened. And so
I also I love that the structure is that the wizard is narrating like Conan's life from like later when Conan's like his king, and he's just like, oh, by the way, here's what happened the first time I met him. It was it was wild, and it's like it doesn't even end with him being king. It's like anyway, that was just one thing. It is like
that's just some cool shit that happened.
and they nailed all that, like the fucking before the seas drank Atlantis and the motherfucking like all the writing is really fucking good, dude. Like they just do a good job with it, making it sound like kind of like almost like Shakespearean and old timey, but not. It's like but it sounds dope, and there's enough shit. You're like, what's that mean? But whatever, I kind of got it.
You get the vibes,
but yeah, all the scary parts are really scary. I mean, that's the thing is like you feel like, damn, Conan is a motherfucking brave dude because this world is scary as fuck.
Yeah,
like even when he's pumping that chick. And she turns into like a fucking vampire.
Yeah.
And she's like, Zamora. And then her fucking... And it looked amazing. You were like, God damn, she looks terrifying. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
it didn't look corny.
Yeah,
And
see,
again, like
I
Conan,
totally forgot that. Yeah.
it's like that kind of fear, but it's also like it's just the world they live in. Because Conan, like once he realizes that she's turned into a witch, he like throws her into the fire.
Yeah,
And it's like it's that thing where it's like it never feels like I think of like the Purge movies where nobody in the Purge acts like they've lived in a world that has the Purge. Where in this movie, everyone who lives in this, like when they find Sumatai, he's like handcuffed to a chain and he's just gonna die by dogs. And so he's asking Conan for food because he doesn't want to die like of starvation. He wants to die fighting on his feet. And Conan's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I
Yeah.
really want to help you. And it's not till like they kind of talk a little, become friends that
Yeah.
it's just kind of like, oh yeah, it's part of the world is sometimes you just leave people to die. And you know,
Yeah.
it's just such a well
It's-
done
it's
universe.
a harsh word. It's good times though. I don't know, just all like all the little hints of like his snake arrows. So it's like what a weird
yeah,
that he has like
Yeah.
snake arrows. Just like the little hint of like weird shit that happens there.
and he just looks at it and goes, "Seek,"
Yeah.
and then fucking turns it into a giant arrow.
This
Yeah.
guy
Yeah, I
is
mean,
so good.
he was fucking. That guy's name is Jerry something. He was like a famous surfer, Sumotai.
Subutai.
It
Is
was Jerry
Yeah,
Lopez.
and the sequel to Conan was, I mean, it was alright, but it's like
Actually, I
not
haven't seen it.
even
It's a baby.
Conan the Destroyer. It's not.
It's a
dude,
PG
Well, because
it's
it's not R rated, right? Yeah, they
Yeah.
couldn't have him banging every woman he meets in the sequel.
Well, and
Yeah,
like it starts and he's trying to like get Valeria back to life, but like that doesn't make sense for Conan to want his wife to come back. And it doesn't make sense that Conan wouldn't just kind of move on in this world that they live in. And
yeah,
then like he's like taking a teenage girl and she's like in love with him. Like it's really weird. I do
Yeah.
like some of the music is so good, but it's definitely cheesier and sillier and dumber. And they definitely go too far with the world a little bit.
yes. And who's the bad? What's the bad guy? What's that guy? Vaughn
In this one or in the sequel?
in the sequel?
I don't remember. I know that Andre
like
the
a
Giant
wizard.
plays. Andre the Giant plays the main like the god that turns into a demon at the end. Also has Will Chamberlain for no real reason.
Yeah.
You know, he wants money.
But
Did
yeah.
did either of you see the remake? I never did, like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I did. It was horrible.
Yeah, I saw, but I couldn't tell you.
It was
anything
just like
about it.
CGI garbage fest.
Kind of like
And
the
it's like
RoboCop remake and
Momoa's
stuff.
not like he just doesn't have it.
He doesn't
have it.
Momoa's great. I love Momoa, but like he's a fucking terrible. You know, he has no. He's cool because you're like, look at this big, handsome, muscly fucking Samoan guy with a great personality, right? He's like seems like a big cut teddy bear. He's not like, I don't know. He's not. I mean, he was all right as what's it called? Fucking Khal Drago. But even that, I went back and I watched a little bit of that. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's dope, but he wasn't. You know.
It's also like he doesn't.
It's kind of like
speak
you need
that
you
much.
need
I
a
don't know.
threat. You need there to be a threat behind Conan. Like you don't want it to be there all the time, but you want to know that he can turn it on if he has to. And if anything, Jason Momoa is like the opposite, where he looks threatening when he's not talking, but the minute he opens his mouth, you're like, "Oh, this guy's cool." You know?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
guy wants to party. You know?
Yeah, like
he's
he's too
fucking nice.
he's almost too likable. Whereas like Arnold Conan, you're like, oh, I might be scared to be in a room with this guy because he might kill
Yeah.
me for like
guy will
offending him.
Punch me in the face if I say the wrong word. You know?
Yeah. Well, there's also like a thing with Conan where you're like, he's like almost figuring out the world
Right.
as you go through it. So it's like he doesn't quite figure it out, and he's sort of like, yeah, dude, if I get a weird feeling, I might just cut your fucking head off because I'm not quite
Yeah.
sure. If I'm not quite sure what's going on, my default is I cut your fucking head off.
Yeah, my default is I'm gonna knock this camel the fuck out. You know?
Yeah, I'm just gonna chop your fucking head off.
Some call him a barbarian. I would.
Ah!
That's
And I
just-
think,
Did
yeah,
you
and I
guys-
think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say there's a really good. I mean, it's not Conan, but it's like Conan inspired. It's actually on HBO Max, but it was an Adult Swim cartoon called Primal.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen a couple. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah,
I
Where
thought
he's-
that was fucking sick.
he's like
Yeah,
friends
I
with a
love that.
dinosaur.
Yeah, he's
Um,
best friends with the dinosaur.
Like the zombie episode was super cool with
Yeah.
zombie dinosaurs, and then I
Dude,
like that
there's
they
a
just
bunch
fought a
that's
bunch
cool.
of stuff. Yeah,
I was
it felt the same, where it felt like this kind of weird mix of like big fantasy and like prehistoric, where it felt like the world just was like that, and nobody could, it's so
Yeah.
far in the past, maybe it was real. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it was really
funny.
cool.
I didn't realize till watching it that you could tell that the Northman was trying to be structured like Conan. I don't know if you saw the Northman.
Yes.
But it's a great movie. Obviously, it's very different than Conan, but it's almost like, oh, he finds like the sword in the crypt, and then like
Right.
Yes.
he pretends to be a slave, to kind of like take
Yeah.
revenge. So I was like, I could see where they were trying to do like a Conan thing, but like realistic.
I like the Northman, but I don't like that it has an overall arc that revenge doesn't give you everything you want like Conan does.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Revenge works out in Conan's world, not in the Northman. But yeah,
Right.
Northman was also cool. I feel like people always try to compare Conan to Gladiator. I think Gladiator doesn't have anything to Conan. I just think Conan is it's more intense and hardcore and just cooler in every way. I just want to shit on Gladiator for a little bit.
I would agree. I'm not a Gladiator fan. I never got the hype, so
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I fucking loved Gladiator when it first came out, but I like Ridley Scott, and I'm a sucker for that. And I thought Russell Crowe fucking ripped dicks.
He did do a good job. I mean, he always does a good job, though.
You know
And
what's so weird is I have this memory of him doing Gladiator before the Michael Mann Insider movie, but I guess he did the Insider
I think it was-
before Gladiator.
I don't
Didn't
know.
they get released around the same time?
Yeah.
It's like he filmed one first.
I think
and
he
then
was
just-
nominated like for both, but then he won for Gladiator.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Also, if you haven't seen The Insider fucking rocks. Anytime
rocks so hard.
Yeah.
anytime Michael Mann gets to be with Al Pacino, you know that movie's gonna fucking rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie's super cool. And I think I always compare them is because the teaser trailer to Gladiator used the Conan movie, and it got me too hyped up. Was the problem.
Very different vibes.
But also, a funny thing is that Oliver Stone originally offered this to Ridley Scott first, and Ridley Scott said there's no way he wanted to do it. So we almost
Really?
could have, we almost could have gotten this one. I do wonder what 70s Ridley Scott would have done or 80s Ridley Scott would have done to.
Yeah.
To
I mean,
Conan.
it's just you got to watch that Milius doc. I mean, he was quite a guy, bro.
Yeah.
He was definitely like I'm a fucking, I mean, it was almost like he was trying to be Ernest Hemingway type of, like I drink hard, I smoke my cigarettes, I fight dogs or whatever the fuck he did. I don't even know. I go
That's
to
why
bar fighting.
that's why I still like Tarantino, because I feel like Tarantino's the only one who's still doing that. Like, I'm a director, bro. Like, I do weird shit sometimes for no reason.
Yeah.
And like every other director is trying to be like, look at me, I'm relatable. It's like, nah, man. I want to be wearing the same outfit for the next 30 years for no real reason, like Francis Ford Coppola has been doing, or like Martin Scorsese is constantly talking about joining the priesthood still, even though he's like 80 years old. Like, just do weird shit all the time.
Never get over
It's
that
fine.
Catholic guilt,
Yeah,
It's-
he's all-
it never goes away.
Every interview he does, he talks about being a priest. It's like, it's too late, Martin.
Dude, guys, I got to jump off in like 5 or 10.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we're
I mean,
done.
any final
Are we
thoughts
good?
on
Are we
Conan
good?
that you
No,
want
I just I hear my wife's grandparents have arrived for the fucking
Oh.
Easter festivities. So
All right.
Well, Joe, any last thoughts on Conan?
no, dude. I mean, yeah, it's one of those ones where it's like you dream, oh, somebody could make it again, and then you're just like, no,
We
it
don't
can
need-
never be made again.
Yeah.
Just leave it there. Yeah.
Just fucking leave it, dog. And it still rips.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
It's
you're
awesome.
right about like all these little there's so many different, it's such an epic, even
Mhm.
though like they make it seem epic by just almost throwing all this random shit at you, and all these just different. They're here, they're there, they're here, they're coming, they're stealing this, and then this.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
just
it's
feels like you go through so much time and
Yeah.
all this shit.
I think like that is the most impressive thing, that it does feel like a biblical epic, like Moses,
Yeah.
and the fact that Oliver Stone and John Milius made this up off of the top of their heads is just super cool. You know, like that they made it feel
Amazing.
like this. But yeah.
Yeah,
Joe,
no.
any last words about people who want to watch The Empty Space or Borderland?
Dude,
Also on
go
TV.
go watch both of them. I mean, I still get hit up from time to time. Somebody tells me, "Oh, I saw that fucking Borderland. That was good. That was sick." And
Nice.
and there's a lot of people that saw, like, our reviews on Amazon were good. I mean, people were digging it, and
Yeah.
you know, I think
Yeah,
there was
I
one
s-
guy that was like, "Hey, this is like a really good story, and it was well directed. The acting sucks." That was hilarious.
we get them both, but yeah, I do still sometimes get people send me a text or like an email or Instagram, and they'll be like, "Hey, I saw Borderland, bro. It's pretty cool." Which like
Well, I mean,
this,
how amazing is that?
yeah, like the
How
fact that they're
amazing is
finding
that?
us, yeah, it's so cool.
This the
It
fact that
must be
like they're
like
finding it, and
I always
and
think
they're
like
like, "Fuck it, I'll give it a shot. Like,
Mhm.
I'll
yeah.
just give it I'll fucking watch
Like
this."
maybe it's on Tubi's homepage some of these times, because I feel like it's like randomly you'll get a bunch of people who saw it all at once, which is
Yeah.
cool, you know.
Yeah,
So
and I
Or
think
they
it's,
watch
yeah.
something else. Maybe they
Yeah,
watch
he just puts it on.
Sicario.
Yeah, and that's what we always want. Like,
He hates
even when I
Sicario.
pitched it to Joe, I told Joe, like, I want this movie to, like, I want it to be a midnight movie for people to find it randomly, and Tubi luckily
Yeah.
has done that. And Empty Space, I don't want you to find it. I want you to seek it out. So go rent it right now.
Yeah, go
Um,
fucking watch that
yeah.
motherfucker.
But thank you, Joe, for taking
All
time.
right, dude.
yeah.
God bless Easter Sunday. Josh, we gotta hang
Good
out.
luck.
I'm gonna hit you up, dude. We're gonna get fucking lunch next time I'm up there.
Oh yeah, hit me up. I'm
Near
literally
Hillsborough.
always at home, so that's like
Okay, cool. Are you still with the same lady?
yeah, we're married now.
Oh
so-
wow, I'm married
so,
too, bro.
I know.
Damn.
Amazing. I liked her a lot. She was hilarious.
Balls
Well, it's
and
cool to be
chains.
married, guys.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well,
Thank you,
sick,
man.
dude.